Well, it all begins with this young tosspot named Wesley who never knew his father. He has a dead-end job and a fat, porky whore of a boss who really just want to punch in the chops and then take a dump in her mouth. He has a hot girl, but his best mate is banging her. He knows all about it too, but he takes no action. Pretty much this sap has no self-esteem whatsoever. Boo frickety hoo, you poor sod. It honestly makes you feel like saying, get yourself a helmet and beef up, bucko. Meanwhile, there's this assassin plonker who visits a ballistics expert in a vain attempt to trace a bullet to the man who's been taking out members of his organization. The ballistics expert spouts a hearty, oh my golly gosh, I haven't got a clue, just as she gets her head blown off. Plonky Assmaster then jumps through the window and over to the other building and shoots all the bennies where they stand, and just as he thinks it's all said and done, he gets a call from the main man and then cops a bullet in the back of the scone. We then find Wesley in a pharmacy getting his regular prescription of anxiety medication. He turns around to see a skinny-assed Angelina Jolie in his face who sports the slutty and pretentious moniker, Fox. She tells little Wes that his father was killed yesterday by a man who starts shooting at them moments later. Wesley's bowels treat him to a pant load and Fox drags him to cover. A big-ass gunfight ensues, followed by a pretty bonerific car chase against a Dodge Viper and a pet food truck. Wesley, being the pussy that he is, passes out and is later awakened at the residence of the Fraternity, an ancient organization of assassins. They inform Wesley that he has the ability to make his heart beat at 400 beats per minute, slow down time, and shoot the wings off flies. Pretty darn useless crap, really. He browns his trowel once more and does a runaback to his hovel of a house. He awakens the next morning thinking it was nothing but a dream, where in actual fact it was not, because he's got his father's gun, which he then stashes in the bog. He discovers that he's got like over $3 million in the bank, and then toddles off to work, and when his lard-ass boss makes the mistake of picking on him again, he gives her what for, verbally, which is pretty gay, really. Oh yeah, he also smashes his best bud in the face with his ergonomic keyboard, destroying his jaw and spraying the keys across the room, presenting us with creative curse words made out of keys and a tooth. With his old life in tatters, Wesley decides to go and join the Fraternity, where they start beating the crud out of him, whilst questioning him as to why he's there. Failing to provide them with a suitable answer, they continue to knock the piss out of him to the point where he passes out, only to wake in some stone-cold bath of amino acid, candle wax, and whale semen. The beatings continue and Wesley is still unable to provide an appropriate answer for them, until Fox loses her cool and accuses Wesley of wasting her time. This is where things get really silly, as I know it's just a movie and all, but Angelina Jolie is about as thin as one of my finest pubes and couldn't really blow the bubbles off a beer, let alone unleash hell on some stocky little lad. Anywho, it's her time to shine, and we see a bout of terribly poor acting as she repeatedly questions him as to why he's here, followed with a bone-crunching assault which eventually leads him to crumble into a little ball, weep, piss his pants, and say that he doesn't know who he is. This is finally a good enough reason for the Fraternity to fire up the montage of Wesley getting better and better at bending bullets around dead pigs, knife fighting, catching shuttles out of looms, and study. He eventually becomes good enough to be shown the big wanky loom of destiny, a plot device as thin and as piss-weak as the pathetic little threads that pass through the rickety old jalopy. This ridiculous contraption somehow weaves a low-quality textile which occasionally has imperfections in the final product, these being some threads that are inconsistently over others and others that are under. Confused? Damn, you ain't seen nothing yet. Somehow the Fraternity managed to interpret these as binary, with which they then use the ISO 88591 character code, which uses 8 bits to represent a letter of the Latin alphabet. How the hell they ever figured this out is beyond me. I suppose, until they did, they just sat around laying loaves in each other's hats and created concoctions of amino acid, candle wax, and whale semen. Once the binary has been fully decoded, we are left with a name, e.g. John Pockleberry, and for some strange reason this person must die. Why? Because some clunky old loom says so. The trash heap has spoken. So Wesley goes off on his first big job. He kills a few guys and is always expecting his next enemy to be enemy number 1, Cross. When the head honcho Sloan hands over each job and it isn't Cross, we see Wesley disgruntled, like a child on Christmas morning who was expecting an Xbox and just got a crusty old piece of dog shit on a toothpick. Finally, Wesley gets Cross as his target, but at the same time, Fox gets Wesley as hers. Ooh, the tension. They cause a massive train wreck where hundreds of innocent people are mutilated, and Wesley finally manages to put a bullet in Cross. Just as he's dying, he tells Wesley that he's actually his father and he was trying to protect him. Yee, good job, Dad. Fox confirms this, and just as she's about to pop a cap in Wesley's pimply little ass, he escapes and lives to fight another day. Wesley awakens at his father's old apartment, becomes an instant genius at binary code, deciphers Sloane's name out of a piece of cloth, and learns how to make timed rat bombs. He then decides to take down the whole fraternity by getting a truckload of these little bastards and letting them loose on the frat HQ. He causes a major ruckus, and then to finish the job runs on in and kills everyone who is good friends just a few days earlier. In the final showdown, the remaining assassins have him surrounded. Hell, I'm no combat expert, but it certainly looks like a poor tactical move to be in each other's line of fire. Dickheads. Sloane comes in, Wesley explains how Sloane's name had come up, but he kept it a secret, with which Sloane retorts with how everyone in that room's name had come up, and had he not kept it a secret, then they would all be dead. Fox, a true believer in the code, bends a mighty bullet around the room and blows the brains out of every single one of them, including herself. Sloane manages to escape, but a few days later, Wesley manages to put a bullet through Sloane's head from miles away after he'd set him up good and proper. The movie ends with Wesley asking us, what the feck have we done lately? Well, Wesley, I jacked off this morning and laid to waste more potential human beings than you did in this entire film. Betting that around a pig carcass, you bum-burgling accounting peanut.